Why do they talk about you when you're not around? It's not just curiosity, it's not harmless chatter. It's a signal, a sign that your presence, your ambition, your very existence is shaking something inside them. And instead of dealing with it, they choose to whisper. They choose the shadows. That's what gossip really is. Fear in disguise. It's the quiet weapon of the weak aimed at the strong. The ones who gossip the loudest are usually the ones who've achieved the least. And the more they talk about you, the more you know you're becoming someone they can't ignore. This isn't about being liked. It's about being undeniable. You've probably felt it, that sting of hearing your name twisted, your character picked apart by people who smile to your face and cut you the second you walk away. It burns. It makes you want to scream, to explain, to make them see who you really are. But that's exactly what they want. Because the moment you react, you fall into their hands, you confirm their stories, you become the character they created. And suddenly, you're no longer in control of your own narrative. They are. But here's the truth they'll never admit. No one gossips about people beneath them. They only talk about those who rise. So if you're being talked about, you're already doing something right. You're moving. You're shifting the balance. You're breaking the script they wrote for you. And that scares them. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that people will always attack what they fear but can't control. He saw gossip as a sign of rising power, not weakness. And if you understand how to handle it, gossip becomes the fuel that drives you, not the weight that breaks you. You need to stop reacting and start rising, stop listening and start building. The ones who win are not the ones who fight back with words. They're the ones who grow so far beyond the reach of gossip that it collapses under its own emptiness. When you know who you are, when you are committed to your vision, their words can't touch you. They become noise. And when your actions speak louder than their lies, you win without saying a single word. This video is going to give you the 5 most ruthless, effective rules ever created for turning gossip into power. You'll learn how to walk through storms without flinching, how to turn silence into strength, how to flip the game so that every word they speak behind your back becomes another brick in the empire you're building. Because when you understand these rules, you stop fearing gossip and you start mastering it. Stay until the end. Because by the time this is over, you won't just be immune to their words, you'll be using them to rise. You'll no longer be the subject of their whispers, you'll be the reason they can't sleep. They want you to explain yourself, to chase their approval, to prove you're not what they say you are. But here's the truth, every second you spend defending yourself is a second wasted. That's how they trap you, not with facts, but with the urge to respond, the need to be understood. But the moment you fall into that, they've already won. Because now you're playing their game. And you don't win anything by playing the game of the insecure. The strong don't defend their name, they let their silence do the talking. Silence is a strategy. It confuses people who expect chaos. It rattles those who seek attention. When they throw dirt and you don't even flinch, they start to question their power. They start to feel invisible. That's how you dominate, by not engaging. You strip them of the satisfaction of your reaction. You rob them of the stage they crave. And in that quiet, you create a presence louder than any words could ever be. Every time you respond emotionally, you give them power. Every time you explain yourself, you give them control over your image. But when you stay silent, composed, and focused, you make them irrelevant. And that's what they fear the most. Not being argued with, but being ignored. You shift the spotlight back to where it belongs, on your actions, your vision, your results. And there's nothing more terrifying to someone who gossips than watching you win without ever acknowledging them. The truth is, most people don't even care what's true. They believe what feels right, what's repeated, what fits their emotional bias. So don't waste energy trying to change their minds. Change your life instead. Become the person who doesn't need to defend anything because your results are louder than their noise. Let them speak. Let them twist stories. Let them create drama. You don't need to say a word. The higher you rise, the harder it becomes for them to reach you. And eventually their words fade into the distance and all that's left is your undeniable presence. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to become so focused, so relentless, so disciplined that their opinions become irrelevant background noise. You are not here to fight every rumor. You are here to build something too powerful to be touched by it. Your power doesn't come from proving them wrong. It comes from not needing to. You rise, not because they stop talking, but because you stop caring. Let your silence become your strength. Let your stillness disturb their chaos. Let your discipline speak louder than any defense. The more they talk, the quieter you become. Because the loudest one in the room is never the strongest. It's the one who doesn't need to speak, doesn't need to react, doesn't need to prove a thing. That's who wins. And when you live like that, gossip becomes nothing more than the sound of your name echoing through the mouths of the forgotten. They want noise from you because your silence makes them uncomfortable. They want an outburst, a post, a rant, something to confirm that they still have access to your emotions. But silence is not weakness. It is the ultimate expression of self-control. It means you've learned that not everything requires your energy. It means you understand the difference between reaction and strategy. Power isn't found in your words. It's found in your ability to stay unmoved. You don't need to speak to control the narrative. Presence alone can do more than explanation ever will. People respond to what they feel. Your posture, your focus, your discipline, those things carry weight. Walk into a room with calm confidence and you shift the atmosphere. Hold yourself with unshakable composure and people feel it. They don't need to be told you're powerful, they sense it. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It just is. When you refuse to play the emotional game, you start to operate on a higher level. The higher you rise, the less accessible you become. You're no longer emotionally available to people who only want to drain you. You're no longer explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. And as you do this, something strange happens. They start to question themselves. Your silence becomes a mirror. It reflects their insecurity, their bitterness, their irrelevance. And deep down, they know it. This is what Machiavellian power is really about. Perception without performance. You don't need to expose your plans, your feelings, or your strategy. The less they know, the more they assume. The more they assume, the more they reveal themselves. Your job is not to correct their assumptions. Your job is to keep moving while they waste time speculating. They're busy watching. You're busy building. There is nothing more dangerous than a person who doesn't flinch. A person who hears everything but says nothing. Who sees everything but responds only with action. That kind of discipline terrifies people who depend on chaos. You become unpredictable, and when you're unpredictable, you become untouchable. They can't provoke you, can't manipulate you, can't break you, because you've stepped outside their emotional reach. Silence, when chosen, becomes your shield. But your presence, intentional, grounded, and focused, becomes your sword. You don't react to their noise. You own the moment. You become the one they can't shake. While they gossip, you elevate. While they plot, you prepare. While they waste their breath, you gain ground. You win not through confrontation, but through calculated stillness. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let their words spread like smoke. They will always fade. But your presence, your focus, your power, that stays. That grows. That dominates. You don't need to say a thing. You've already said enough by refusing to play small. Let them whisper. Let them circle. You stand still, silent, unshaken. And in that silence, you become the storm they never saw coming. Power begins when you no longer seek to be understood. When you stop needing validation from people who haven't built what you're building. When their opinions become too small to matter and your mission becomes too big to stop. The truth is, most people don't want to understand you. They want to limit you. They want to box you into something familiar, something safe, something that doesn't threaten the fragile stories they tell themselves about their own lives. And when you no longer fit inside that box, they attack. But you weren't made to fit. You were made to rise, to evolve, to become something greater than the environment that shaped you. That's why they talk. That's why they whisper. Because deep down, they know you're changing. And change terrifies people who've stayed the same. Your growth reminds them of their stagnation. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your silence confronts the noise they've been hiding behind for years. And so they gossip. Not because you're weak, but because you've become a mirror they can't escape. Every word they speak against you is proof that you matter, that your presence is too loud to ignore, that your energy is shaking something loose in their minds. But here's the move. They think their words define you. They don't. You've already left that version of yourself behind. You're not that person anymore. You're not who they remember. You've outgrown the old image. And now you don't owe them anything. Not an explanation. not a response, not even your attention. What you owe is to your future, to the version of you that is built through silence, forged through discipline, and shaped through relentless self-respect. That version doesn't lower itself to gossip. That version doesn't beg to be seen. It creates, executes, and conquers in plain sight. Because the highest form of revenge is success without recognition. It's rising so far beyond the reach of noise that your very existence becomes uncomfortable to those who tried to keep you small. You have to understand, this is a game, a psychological one. They are playing with shadows while you build in light. They're trying to pull you down with emotion while you rise through strategy. This is not a battle of words. It's a war of direction. They're staying still. You're moving forward. That alone makes you dangerous. You don't need to match their energy. You need to surpass it. Not with louder words, but with quieter wins. Not with dramatic responses, but with silent growth. You make them irrelevant by becoming undeniable. And once you stop reacting, you start leading. Once you stop needing them to see you, begin to see yourself clearly. Hold your vision close. Guard your peace. Starve their gossip of your attention and feed your future with your focus. While they talk, you build. While they guess, you decide. While they drift, you rise. And when it's all said and done, they'll realize your silence was never weakness. It was your strategy. It was your rise. When you stop responding, something powerful happens. They start to lose their grip. The ones who thrived on your reactions begin to starve. The energy they fed on disappears. You've removed their leverage, and now they're left with nothing but their own emptiness. That silence you've chosen, it's not passive, it's calculated. It's the mark of someone who has learned that energy is currency, and you refuse to spend it on people who haven't earned a seat at your table. You're not here to fix anyone's perception. You're here to master yourself. To build a life so aligned with who you are that no rumor can shake it, no lie can stain it. That's what self-respect looks like. It's not loud. It's not theatrical. It's firm, internal, and unshakable. And when you hold that kind of inner power, the world begins to organize itself around you. People either rise to your standard or they fall away. Either way, you win. Most people don't realize this. Silence is not absence. It's presence sharpened. It's focus undisturbed. It's power conserved for something greater. The more they talk, the more you should be still. The more they scatter their energy, the more you channel yours. You don't climb by answering critics. You climb by becoming undeniable. Let your consistency scream. Let your discipline echo. Let your results end every argument before it begins. There will always be people who feel threatened by your growth. Always those who try to control the story because they're losing control of you. That's not your burden to carry. You weren't put here to live in the shadow of their comfort zones. You were made to expand, to evolve. To step into rooms they'll never access, not because you were chosen, but because you chose. You chose silence over drama. You chose focus over attention. You chose the long game over instant approval. And that choice changes everything. So, the most dangerous person in any room is the one who doesn't need to prove anything. The one who lets others speak while they build. The one who listens more than they talk, moves more than they boast, and acts more than they explain. That's the edge. That's what separates leaders from noise. You've got that in you, not by chance, but by decision. And every time you stay rooted in your path while they spiral in distractions, you carve out distance. You create space between who you were and who you're becoming. So stay silent, stay grounded, stay moving. Not out of fear, not out of weakness, but because you've matured past the need to be seen by those who only watch to tear you down. Your future is being built in silence. Not with attention, but with intention. And when it finally speaks, it won't whisper. It'll roar. Let them talk. You've already chosen something greater. You've chosen to win. Quietly, relentlessly, permanently. You don't rise by being liked. You rise by being disciplined, by being feared for your standards, not loved for your compliance. The world respects those who move with precision, not apology. The more you try to be understood, the more you lose yourself. The more you try to explain, the more you dilute your purpose. Your power comes when you become unapologetic about who you are and where you're going. You owe no one your softness when it comes at the cost of your direction. They will call you cold. Let them. They will call you arrogant. Let them. They will twist your confidence into pride, your silence into guilt, your focus into selfishness. Let them. Your job is not to shrink for their comfort. Your job is to expand beyond their comprehension. If they need to tear you down to feel tall, they were never meant to stand beside you. Let distance be your response. Let success be your revenge. Let growth be your answer. There is a level of peace that comes when you stop negotiating your value. When you stop begging for alignment with people who refuse to understand your standards. You were not made to beg for respect. You were made to command it through who you are. And the only way to command it is to show that you will walk away from anything that insults your worth, even if it's disguised as love, loyalty, or friendship. Emotional detachment is not numbness, it's wisdom. It's the ability to choose what matters and discard what drains. It's the courage to walk through fire without explaining why you're burning bridges. Not every bond deserves your healing. Not every connection deserves your effort. When you outgrow the old version of yourself, the people who knew that version will start to resist your evolution. That's not your problem. That's proof you're moving forward. You don't need to argue for your path. You need to walk it. And the more silent you become, the more powerful your footsteps. You become the one who no longer entertains the circus, the one who doesn't flinch when accused. The one who knows that reputations are built on actions, not conversations. You stop reacting, you stop defending. And in that stillness, your legend starts to grow. When your purpose becomes louder than their gossip, you've arrived. When your hunger for greatness becomes greater than your fear of judgment, you become dangerous. Not because you're aggressive, but because you're unshakable. Not because you're perfect, but because you're focused. Every second you don't respond, you rise. Every moment you stay grounded, you grow. So, that's the law of elevation. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them invent stories in your silence. While they talk in circles, you move in straight lines. While they rehearse rumors, you execute reality. While they stay loud, you stay lethal. That's the difference. That's the advantage. That's how you win. They will try to trigger you with silence, with slander, with subtle jabs masked as jokes, not because you're weak, but because you've become untouchable without them. Your glow intimidates them. Your progress exposes their laziness. Your focus reveals how scattered they are. And the only way they can feel in control again is if they pull you back into their world of pettiness and performance. Don't give them that power. The moment you respond emotionally, you give them the illusion that they still matter in your story. They don't. Emotional control is your weapon. It separates those who lead from those who follow the crowd. Most people react. You respond with discipline. Most chase attention. You chase mastery. That's why you win. Because you understand one truth. Every distraction is a test. A test of whether you're still vulnerable to validation, still hungry for approval, still wired to defend yourself instead of build yourself. And the more you pass those tests, the stronger you become. The more you evolve. The less you flinch. This is what mental warfare looks like. Moments where the loudest voice isn't someone else's opinion, it's your own inner doubts. But when you've trained your mind to move in silence, to act without explanation, to hold your vision above your emotions, you win without even being seen. You win in solitude. You win behind closed doors. You win through patience and presence and unshakable conviction. Let them misinterpret your calm as weakness. Let them believe your distance is fear. That's their illusion to live in. You're done proving your value. You're done seeking peace with people committed to chaos. You've learned that not everything broken needs fixing. Some things just need leaving. Some people just need losing. Growth means accepting that peace sometimes comes at the cost of company, and you're willing to pay that price. Silence isn't just an absence of sound. It's a presence of strength. It's the boundary that says, I don't owe you my energy. I don't owe you a reaction. I don't owe you access to who I'm becoming. That's not arrogance. That's evolution. That's strategy. That's Machiavellian power, the ability to walk through storms without telling anyone it's raining. The ability to play the long game while others burn themselves out in temporary battles. You don't get stronger by being louder. You get stronger by getting clearer. Every minute they spend trying to decode you, you spend building. Every word they speak in your absence becomes proof that your presence still haunts them. That's the power of restraint. That's the impact of choosing yourself over distraction. You are no longer a participant in their drama. You are the architect of your future. Keep building what they can't see. Keep moving where they can't follow. Keep growing in ways they'll never understand. Because while they remain addicted to gossip, you remain addicted to growth. And growth, silent and relentless, always wins. They whisper because they lack impact. They gossip because they've run out of meaning in their own lives. You, on the other hand, are no longer in the business of being understood by people who cannot even understand themselves. You've moved on from needing to fit in. Now, your only loyalty is to your evolution. Every time you're tempted to defend yourself, remind yourself of one truth. Defending your name to small minds is a distraction from building a future only giants will understand. This world doesn't reward the loudest. It rewards the most consistent. The ones who stay locked in when others break down. The ones who choose mastery over noise, precision over popularity. While they gather in corners to discuss you, you're somewhere creating momentum that will echo long after their words are forgotten. You don't have to silence them. Your results will. You don't have to correct their narrative. Your next move will make it irrelevant. Power doesn't respond. It watches. Then it conquers. To rise, you must be willing to be misunderstood. You must be willing to let people build entire stories about you while you quietly build an empire they never saw coming. You must develop the kind of internal stability that makes external opinions completely powerless. When your validation comes from your progress, not their praise, you become unstoppable. And most people have never seen someone so grounded, so deliberate, so unaffected by noise that they mistake it for arrogance. Let them. Let them wonder how you're still winning. Let them guess how you keep moving forward without their approval. The truth is, you stopped needing it. You rewired your mind. You no longer chase closure, permission, or applause. You chase clarity, purpose, and execution. And while they're stuck trying to manipulate perception, you've mastered reality. While they waste time tearing others down, you've trained your mind to elevate. That's what separates the disciplined from the distracted. Not everyone will understand why you're distant. Not everyone will appreciate the silence you carry. That's not your concern, because silence is where power refines itself. It's where the future is shaped by decisions, not debates. You don't need to talk about what you're building when you're too busy building it. And by the time they realize what you were doing in the dark, it'll already be too late. The game will be over. You will have already won. Stay sharp. Stay grounded. Stay focused. Stay focused. That's how legacies are made. Not through noise, but through discipline. Not through argument, but through execution. You don't have to make announcements. You don't have to explain your steps. Just take them. Let the world feel the shift without a single word from you. Let your transformation become the proof. Let your growth become the response. And let your silence remind them that the real ones never had to speak to be heard. The reason they keep speaking your name is because they can't escape your shadow. You've become a mirror they can't look into without confronting their own stagnation. You've become a reminder of the life they could have had if they had chosen discipline over distraction. People don't gossip about the weak. They gossip about the ones who move differently. The ones they can't control. The ones who scare them without ever lifting a finger. That's who you are now. Not because you sought to intimidate, but because you chose elevation over explanation. Every time you stay silent, you feed your power. Every time you don't flinch, you sharpen your edge. Your silence is not absence, it's presence magnified. You're not backing down, you're rising above. There's a difference. One is driven by fear, the other by control. And when you control your responses, your time, your energy, you send a message without saying a word. I am not here to be provoked. I am here to conquer. Let them speak. Let them circle. Let them try to shake your focus. Their noise is just a signal that you're building something that threatens comfort zones. You don't need to lower your standards to make people feel safe around your ambition. Your ambition is not the problem. Their insecurity is. Don't water down your vision so others can drink from it more easily. Let them choke on their doubt while you keep drinking from the cup of progress. Every strong mind has walked through fire alone. You're not an exception. This is your fire. This is where your resolve is tested, where your boundaries are challenged, and where your instincts are sharpened. You're not here to be understood by the average. You're here to become exceptional, and that requires silence. That requires sacrifice. That requires the kind of mental armor that doesn't crack under pressure. It gets stronger. No one sees the hours you've put in. No one knows how many times you've had to hold your tongue while your name was being twisted. But every time you kept your focus, you added another layer to your foundation. They won't see it until you're standing on ground they can't reach. And even then, they'll say you got lucky. Let them. You didn't rise to be validated. You rose to become untouchable. So keep going. Keep choosing the path that doesn't clap for you every step of the way. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know it's yours. The quiet ones are always the most dangerous. The ones who learn in silence, move in silence, and win in silence. You're not just playing the game. You're learning how to master it, how to bend it to your will, how to become the one they never saw coming until it was too late.